What would you say to somebody like that?
Lock your Amazon account. Don't go back in there.
Wow. I mean, could you imagine Amelia, for example, your beautiful partner, and you go in to read a Kindle book and you find out that she had purchased and is reading a book on, basically splitting up and getting out of the relationship and how to do it successfully. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with the founder of the Powerful Man Movement, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, what's going on, brother?
I am fantastic. I'm still pondering the question you posed on the last episode. It really struck me. So, wow, I'm doing great. Good.
Well, I got a new one for you. And this one won't be related to you, but I'd like to get your advice. And so let me set up the scenario. I had the fortunate advantage of talking to a business owner just yesterday. And as I was talking to him, we were going over business stuff as these conversations, as I always say, happen because that's just the way they are. And then we started talking about relationships. And what he told me, he said, Doug, you'll never believe this. Because it starts off, you know how the conversation goes, Tim. Hey, how you doing? I'm doing great. How are you? Oh, great. How are the wife and kids? Oh, amazing. You go through that whole rigmarole until you actually start to dive in deeper, right? With most people. And what happened, Tim, when I was talking to him, is he started to say, Doug, something weird happened. I knew that was time to take pause, right? When someone says, hey, something weird happened, you're like, okay, this is out of the blue. And what happened, Tim, is he logged on to his Amazon Prime account. He happens to be Amazon Prime, and he went on to his Kindle, but he went on to the shared version, right? So in Amazon Prime, they have the ability for family share, right? So you can see what your family's reading or things like that. So for example, if my wife gets a book, I can see what she's purchased and I can read it, etc. So he got on there, and he hadn't been on there in years, definitely not years from what he was telling me. And he logged on and he found a book on how to win a divorce for women out of the blue. Now here he thought his marriage was perfect. Well, he didn't think it was perfect, but he thought it was good enough. He was spending his time slogging along, working, getting things done. He's got 3 kids, things are going on. And now he's looking at this account and finds out that his wife bought a book about how to win divorce for women. Talk about a red flag and a slap in the face right away. What would you say to somebody like that?
Lock your Amazon account.
Yeah, well, you got to remember.
Don't go back in there.
I didn't ask him what he had purchased books, but it sounds like he wasn't in there. But wow, I mean, could you imagine Amelia, for example, your beautiful partner, and you go in to read a Kindle book and you find out that she had purchased and is reading a book on, basically splitting up and getting out of the relationship and how to do it successfully. Because at that point, you're beyond the, should I do this stage? You're in the, okay, I'm doing this. What's my best strategy stage?
Wow.
And remember, gosh, I think it's something like 70 or 80% of divorces are initiated by women, which is also a crazy stat that somebody told me. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I've heard.
Well, what would I do? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is I'd be devastated. At first, I'd be like, why could you not speak to me about this? What have I done wrong? How could I have missed this? You'd go through that whole scenario, wouldn't you? And, we see it so often with the men. It happens so often. I think I'm going to check my Amazon every week now. But anyway, it happens so often with the men. And what we see is, we talk a lot in The Powerful Man with the men in the activation method in the brotherhood about really taking control of your 5 territories and leading them. And your 5 territories are self, health, relationships, wealth, and business. And imagine this like a pyramid. At the bottom, you've got self. Above that, you've got health. Then you've got relationships. 4th level, you've got wealth. And the top, the peak, is business. Yet when the men come to us, they've got it the other way around, haven't they? They've got it flipped on its head. So business is at the bottom, and then money, and then relationships, then health, and then self. So relationships and also themselves as well are a real afterthought. And, for it to get to that point in a relationship, not only I imagine there's not a great deal of attention being given to the relationship, at least in the way that the woman wants to receive it. And also, I imagine there's not much effort being made by the guy either to create a certain, to romance his wife or to really love his wife or to love himself so that he looks the part. We've spoken about this on previous episodes that if I was single, how would I act? How would I dress? How would I take care of myself? How would I present myself? Amelia gets to get at least that and more because I'm in a relationship with her. If I want to grow with her and thrive with her, yet, so often, like I said a moment ago, the men are putting business as the first territory, and it just cannot be that way. You've got to start with self, and with self, the agony that you're going to then overcome is emptiness. That feeling that you've always got to be chasing and hustling and grinding in order to make money, because when you make money, that's when you're going to be happy. And, no matter what, you're going to do it. So you slog it out and you sacrifice your health and your happiness and your relationships to make the money, but then you turn around and nobody's there. And you're on your knees because you're absolutely exhausted and burnt out. You don't have any energy to give to yourself to enjoy your life and the life you've created. And you feel empty, and it's a hamster wheel of hustle. It goes and goes and goes. And then to everybody else, the real stinger here is that to everybody else, they keep telling you that you've got the ideal life. You've got the business, the home, the holidays, the family, the money. Why are you not enjoying it, Tim? You've got it all. You should be loving it. You've got nothing to complain about, Doug. So then you're like, well, I don't have anyone to speak to here. So then you start to cycle through the agonies. And, we've seen it with hundreds of men. They move from one agony to the second, which is anger, to the third, which is shame, to the fourth, which is loneliness, and then to the fifth, which is uncertainty, which is his experience in here. And when you actually flip it on its head and become aware that I'm in the 5 agonies, I'm actually in them, I'm moving through them. So if you're listening to this, check in with yourself. Are you in them right now? If you are, which one are you in? And if you're in those, look at your 5 territories. Which one are you prioritizing first? Because when you prioritize self as the first territory, you leave emptiness behind, which is the first agony, and unlock the first freedom of peace. And as you can imagine, with that level of peace that you experience, you're no longer chasing money in order to be good enough or to be the man or to look a certain way. You're no longer relying on all those things outside of you, the boat, the car, the holiday, whatever it is, in order to show everyone that you've made it and that you're the man. Because that tug of war that you're feeling inside of yourselves is no longer there. So you're able to be present with yourself and be at peace with yourself. And when you're able to be there, you're then able to be there with your family as well. And often, when the women in our lives start to pull away, it's because they're not being provided for. And it's got nothing to do with money. When they're not provided for emotionally, they feel vulnerable to attack because they don't have the solid emotional container of a man to be able to relax and surrender into and bounce around in. So when that's not there, it's like, well, who's going to protect me? Who's going to be there for me? But if we're not able to be there for ourselves, then how can we be there for others? So, the first territory is self, you'll experience peace, and then you move to health so you can have the energy and the vitality to enjoy life with your wife and your family and your friends. And then the third one is relationships. And that's when you can actually start to get into the tactics and strategies to really grow and deepen the connection in the relationship. And, the guys in the activation method, as you know, Doug, they're taught something called the triad of connection to really help deepen that and carve out. Yet, they are only taught that after having the first 2 territories in place. Even though they may come to us and say that, I've just gone on Amazon and my wife's about to leave me. Sure, we'll explore and give them some tools to use in that instance, but we'll still bring them back to the first territory because we know that it all starts there.
Guys, I'm interrupting this episode because I want to know, do you feel bored, burnt out, or broken? Discover the system that over 300 businessmen are using to let go of the grind, find inner peace, and unlock unlimited personal power so they can have more time, more intimacy, and better sex while living a life they love without stressing about work or feeling like a fraud. Head over to thepowerfulman.com/11 to see what this is all about. All right, let's get back to the episode. It's so true. And regardless of how painful that can be, you have to start with that first territory. You have to start with self, because that is why, for this guy, my assumption, Tim, is that's probably why he missed the signals. He missed the fact that his wife is reading a book about divorce. He missed all those other signals because he wasn't taking care of himself first, right? If you're taking care of yourself, you're much more aware and much more present, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've heard it loads of times, Doug, that the men at the Alpha Reset have told us that their wives have been the happiest before they started the business because they were there with them, they were present. The guys at that point hadn't woken up to this real desire and urge to conquer the world, if you will, and lost themselves in the process. You can conquer and also have the relationship. Yet if you leave yourself at the start line, then you're running the wrong race. We often talk about there being one destination and two paths. You're going to get there regardless because the type of guy you are, you're going to win the race. You're going to achieve success. Yet, do you want to achieve it? Do you want to arrive at the finish line beaten, battered, and bruised, crawling over it with nothing left to give? Or do you want to arrive there with a smile on your face, holding hands with the people you love? It's really a choice. And like you said so well, if he would have had the first territory, and I'm making assumptions here, you tell me whether or not he did have the first territory on lockdown. I imagine he didn't, because that's the pattern we've seen in hundreds of men. But you're right. If he does have it on, if he didn't have it on lockdown, and he does, then yeah, you're aware of the warning signs. You see them coming because you're there, you're present, and you're at peace. And not only that, Doug, and I should see my expressions here. My hands are going all over. Not only that, Doug, but also his wife. It's more than likely his wife would have felt like she could speak to him as well. Because in my experience, women will tell us in subtle ways at the beginning because they want us to see ourselves. And they won't continue to scream and kick and shout. Not all women anyway. They'll just reach a point where it's so difficult to get them back from.
No, it's so true. And, to answer your question, this guy, I don't think he had any of the territories on lockdown. Business was his go-to, of course, as it is for many of us entrepreneurs. But truth be told, he didn't even have that on lockdown. The perception of him having it on lockdown was there. And I think that stress of trying to keep that mask on, that perception, bled into all the other areas degrading, and often or more than likely, and I don't know all the particulars, I know quite a bit from that conversation, but, my guess is he'd stopped showing up at home. He stopped coming in. And so his family, which happens a lot, and guys, can you resonate with this one? He gave everything he had, the good stuff, to work. And when he got home, he was tired. He'd sit on the couch, have a drink, just didn't want to be left alone for the most part. Maybe spend some time with the kids, but his wife and his kids got the crap, got the leftovers. They didn't get the sweet stuff. His business got the sweet stuff, and it wasn't even doing well, which further compounded, I would imagine, further compounded his regret and his stress.
We often speak to the men, don't we, and ask them, where are you vulnerable to attack in your 5 territories? We often liken it to the pack, a pack of wolves who are protecting their territory and get a few territories together. Yeah, if you're running around exhausted trying to keep up the facade that you've got it all together, when in reality you feel like it's falling apart behind closed doors, then you're going to be vulnerable to attack, whether it's in the first territory in self, and you're vulnerable to attack there through burnout, whether it's through the second territory of health and you're vulnerable there to illness or injury or disease because you're not looking after your health, or maybe third territory, relationships, and you're vulnerable to attack there by your wife going on Amazon and looking at how to win a divorce because you're not paying the attention. The signs of being vulnerable to attack in all of these areas. So you get to look at it, guys. Where are you vulnerable to attack? And have you got that first territory on lockdown? And if not, then what do you get to do in order to get it on lockdown?
Yeah, and sometimes it has to do with getting optics, right? And seeing where you are, whether that be from, a mentor, a coach, somebody that's outside of you that can help you look inward and see what you're missing and look at those tough areas to figure out what you do need to get on lockdown. So,
I mean, sorry, Doug. The knee-jerk reaction here is to go all in relationships, isn't it?
Yep.
My wife's looking at a book on Amazon. She's looking at how to win a divorce. I'm either going to go all in on my relationship or I'm going to go all in on my finances and protect myself. But yeah, they're going to go all in on relationships, but that's not sustainable. And I used to do this, and we've seen this in a lot of the men. It's almost like a pendulum of extremes that they swing through. Firefighting, running from one territory to another to put out the fire that's there, but they do it with such an intensity and urgency that it's just not sustainable. And then they'll run across to the other one and then do that and the other one, and it's so I get it that the urge here is to run straight to the relationship, and of course, there's conversations that get to be had there for sure. And then there's the solution coming out of this is one that allows you to have consistency.
Love it. Love it. So Tim, what advice, give me a couple things besides running around and checking your Amazon Prime account to see what what your spouse might have been or your partner might have been reading or downloading. By the way, you can also do this on Audible as well. But besides that, what are a couple things these guys can do right now?
If you feel like you're dropping the ball in your relationship, just have a conversation. Just be honest. The way in which you may want to go about this is, I'll use an example that I've used with Amelia in the past because, I've dropped the ball there in the past. Hey, Amelia, I realized that lately I've not been paying you as much attention. I realized lately I've been working later than I said that I would, and that afterwards I've just been too tired and too exhausted to pay you the attention that I want to pay you and that you deserve. And I'm sorry for that. I want you to know that I see it, and I'm sorry for that. And I promise I'm going to make it. I'm going to make a change. If you've had that conversation many times before, then obviously maybe it won't work this time. If you have had that conversation many times before, then you've got to get real with yourself as to why you keep on then working late in this situation and ignoring the relationship. Is it that there's something deeper going on for you, such as the first agony of emptiness, that no matter how much you achieve, it's just never enough? So you've got to keep on going and going and going and going, because you've got this insatiable void inside of you that no matter what you achieve, it just cannot be satisfied. And get to the root of it if that's the case for you, so you can overcome it. And then the third one, would be to really start to direct some attention onto your relationship. If it's important to you and you really want to be with the person you're with and you want to grow and flourish together, then do that. Whether it's a date night each week, whether that's you sit down and come up with some things you both love to learn and growing together. Doug, you and Aaron are great at this. Or whatever that looks like. For example, Amelia, she's away in Portugal right now. She gets back tonight, in fact. And while she's been there, she's been sending me some links to this concert that she was saying looks good. So I've gone and bought the tickets for that for us. That's in a couple of weeks' time. At first, I sent her a screenshot of the confirmation of the tickets. And I thought, no, what am I doing? What am I doing? Surprise her. So I deleted it, and it was on WhatsApp. So when you delete it, it says delete for everyone, which I did. But it leaves that that thing there that said this message was deleted. So Amelia's then texting me going, what did you want? What did you post? Like, nothing. Forget about it. And then I know that she's going to come back and want to take the dogs for a walk. So I'm going to arrange some time in my day to go to the field with her and go and walk the dogs. And there's a couple of other things. But the point I'm making here with this is I'm making a conscious effort to invest some time and energy into the relationship, because I know that if I tell myself I'm too busy, and when we have, let's say, reached a certain level of revenue or certain people in place or whatever it is, whenever we have that thing in place, that's when I'll give her more time and attention. I know that time will never come, because that's my belief system. And also that time may be too late. So have the conversation, look to see if there's a deeper route going on for you. And then the third, invest some time and energy into the relationship if you want it to flourish.
Beautifully said, my friend. Well, I'm going to forward this episode on to the gentleman I was talking to. I have his LinkedIn account pulled up, and I'm going to go ahead and share that with him right away. Gentlemen, I encourage you guys to also do the same. Share this episode with somebody that you know needs to hear it, and just show them that you care. It's as simple as that. And it's just an act of, bravery, an act of love, essentially, to send out there. Tim, as always, thank you so much for being on again. And I loved hearing your words of wisdom, my friend. And guys, we will see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.